How are you doing? No, really. How are you actually doing? So many people struggle in silence, quietly cracking to the point where they get burnt out. Burnout gets all the attention, yet it's actually this quietly cracking phase that no one really talks about. So today I want to dive into what is quietly cracking and what can you do to protect yourself so that you don't end up going down the burnt out route. I'm your host, Daniel James, a mindset and high performance coach and author of The Identity Wheel. And if you're new here, welcome. So this invisible crisis that no one really talks about is hard to identify. Now, it's hard to identify because we're still performing. We're still meeting all the expectations. We're showing up every day. And to the outside, we look fine. Our co-workers, our managers, our friends, and maybe even our partners don't see what's going on beneath the surface. Because internally, we're running on tension. Have you ever felt that? We just know that there's something going on inside. And the way that I describe it when I'm dealing with it is like it's just like a warm, burning feeling. I can't describe it any better than that, but it's like this warm, burning tension. And everything takes effort. Getting out of the bed takes effort. Showing up to meetings takes effort. Things that you normally enjoy doing just seem harder. And no matter how much you sleep, no matter how much you have a lie in, how many naps you take, you simply cannot seem to recover. And the world just seems a little bit heavier. Now, worse than this, what we end up doing is we end up gaslighting ourselves. We say, I'm fine, I'm still showing up, it's going to pass. No, I'm fine. And I remember doing this myself. When I was at the height of my depression, I remember going to bed every single night telling myself, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I'm going to wake up tomorrow, everything's going to be fine. Yet I was doing nothing to make it fine. I was doing nothing to actually look at the reasons why I wasn't fine. And I wasn't reaching out and asking for help because I didn't know myself what was wrong. And if we're a high performing individual, this can be especially difficult because we tie our self-worth into performance. And we almost see that asking for help and recognizing that we're not okay as a sign of weakness. But if we don't identify this quietly cracking phase that we're in, what ends up happening is we go down a path, and that path will either end up in burnout, which is the most common, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, anxiety. There's all these different avenues that it can go down if we're not aware of it. It reminds me of a client I was working with, Sarah. So Sarah is a 34-year-old marketing director. And on the surface, she was absolutely smashing it. She was hitting absolutely every single deadline that was put in front of her. She was leading a team well. She was showing up. She was motivating. She was asking questions. She was making sure she had time to support them. And nobody noticed that anything was wrong because all the metrics were being hit. So to look at Sarah, not an issue. She's not someone that we're concerned with, hitting all the markers. We're going to concern ourselves with people that visibly are showing signs, not showing up to work, not hitting their targets. Not Sarah. Sarah's fine. Now, when me and Sarah started working together and we were kind of picking back the layers here, the reason why she came to see me was because she was snapping at a partner over silly things, small things. And the way she was responding was not in proportion to the situation. So a partner wouldn't do the dishes and she'd explode. Now, yes, we get frustrated with that. I'm still guilty of not doing the dishes, but it didn't need that level of snapping. She'd be taking 2 hours to make simple decisions that normally would be effortless for her. She couldn't remember the last time that she laughed. She just felt numb. Have you ever had that where you just kind of feel grey? You're not happy, you're not sad, you're kind of just existing. That's exactly how Sarah was feeling. And worst of all, she'd be lying awake at night, replaying work conversations. She couldn't turn off, which then meant she'd wake up even more tired. And as I've spoken about before on this channel, lack of sleep is one of the biggest things that cause people to struggle with their mental health. I know for me, if I have 2 bad nights sleep in a row, I really notice the difference in my mental health. So, what's really happening? What's really happening beneath the surface? The way that I describe this is that this quietly cracking phase is like revving your engine. You sat there and you're revving your car engine. There's only so long that you can sit there and rev the car engine until you have to release the accelerator. Otherwise, the engine just burns out. And that's the kind of headspace we get into at work. We keep going, we keep going, we keep going, but we don't allow ourselves that space to actually recover. I'm not talking about taking naps or having a lie. I'm talking about actually recover, mentally recover. I don't ever believe in overtraining. So when people go to gym, I don't believe in overtraining. I always see it as under recovery. And that's what happens in the workplace. We're not allowing ourselves to recover because our nervous system is getting burnt out. We're staying in this red zone a lot longer than we need to. We're in this sympathetic state, we're in this fight or flight. And that's not how we're designed to stay. And yes, you can mask it on the surface, but masking it leads to even more exhaustion. I know myself even now when I try and mask, when I try and show up, but actually I'm struggling a little bit. If I don't deal with that, that mask becomes so hard to wear. That's essentially what's quite cracking is we're wearing a mask. Are you wearing a mask? Are you actually okay right now? Are you just pretending? There's 3 truths that we need to recognize and acknowledge. The first one is the nervous system. Your nervous system is stuck in a low level threat state. It's like that engine that's never allowed to cool down. The second thing is our resilience. You're not failing. You are not failing because you're struggling. You're enduring without restoration. It's not failure. Resilience for me is about making sure that we don't go back to a previously good state. Because that's what tends to happen. If you've ever struggled with burnout or you know somebody that does, what tends to happen is they take time off work, they go straight back into their environment, and they go straight back to how they were, and then a couple of months they're burnt out again. That for me isn't resilience. Resilience is about learning and moving forward so you become enhanced from the experience. Meaning that actually when you are out of that environment, taking time off to recover or whatever you need, you are learning yourself. You are learning the triggers, you are learning your stresses, you are learning how your nervous system responds and what you can put in place to make sure that when you're back in that environment, you are thriving and not just going back to surviving. And the third truth we need to acknowledge is that the real problem is not being overworked. The real issue is under recovery. So, how can you tell if you are quietly cracking? Well, the small things feel disproportionately heavy. If so, give that a tick. Number 2, does decision making take more effort than usual? If yes, give yourself a tick. Number 3, are you more irritable than normal? I'm not just talking about your usual level of irritability. Are you more irritable than normal? If so, give it a tick. Number 4, tasks that were effortless now require force. It feels like you're forcing yourself to do it, to force yourself to go through the motions. Number 5, you can't seem to recover like you used to. Give it a tick if that's you. Number 6, you're thinking, I just need to get through this week. I just need to get through this week. But actually, if you stopped, it's probably the 4th week in a row that you've said, I just need to get through the week. I just need to get through the week. And then finally, people keep asking you, are you okay? And you're just saying, I'm fine. Now, I'm saying here, if you're ticking at least 3 of them, you're probably going down that stage of quietly cracking that may lead to burnout, anxiety, panic attack, depression. So what do we need to do? First of all, we need to realize the reason why we're stuck here, as I said, it's not about the workload, it's about our identity. We identify as the dependable one. We identify as the person that people rely on. We identify as someone, I don't want to be a problem. I am not a problem. I'm not that person. I'm not that employee. Because I've heard about how they talk. That's not me. And then also, if I stop, things fall apart. Isn't that interesting? You may have heard me mention this before about the airplane analogy. That when you're on an airplane, what do they say to you? The oxygen mask comes down, put your oxygen mask on first, and then help those around you. Look after yourself so that you can look after other people. Yet we say to ourselves, we have this identity of, if I stop, things fall apart. If you don't stop, you're going to be forced to stop, which means you're going to be out for even longer. So we have to look after ourselves first so that we then can help other people. So then we have a choice. And the important thing to recognize is that we always have a choice. The first choice is, if I stop, things fall apart. The second choice is, if I don't stop, my nervous system will make me stop. That's what we're choosing. Because for me, that's a lose-lose. The logic there, if I stop, things fall apart. Okay. But if you don't stop, your nervous system will make you stop. So what we need to do, we need to identify this first part here. If I stop, things fall apart. No, that's the story you're telling yourself. So the two choices you have to choose from. If I stop, things fall apart. That's a story. That's not based on any facts. And actually, if we look at a lot of the times we struggle in our life, it's not based on facts. It's stories that we tell ourselves, and we make this little molehill into a mountain. Realize that if you don't stop, your nervous system will make you stop, and you'll be out for longer. You're not burnt out because you care too much. You're burnt out because your identity doesn't allow you to recover. So, what are some practical shifts that we can do? Well, there's 4 things we can do. The first one is name it. Say to yourself, I'm noticing that X is harder than usual. So maybe right now, just write down one sentence today. What today feels harder than usual? Say, I'm noticing that this is harder than usual. So write that down. What today feels harder than usual? Number 2, redefine strength. Redefine it as recovery isn't weakness, it's a performance strategy. If you look at top level athletes, they prioritize performance, oftentimes more than the actual thing itself, because they realize if they can't recover, they can't perform. Same with you. You know how to do your job, you know how to do that thing. That's not the thing you need to focus on. You need to focus on the other side. The other side is the recovery. So maybe can we schedule breaks this week, intentional 15-minute breaks where you do nothing. You're not scrolling, you're just being, you're just checking in with yourself. Maybe do a bit of a mindful practice. Number 3, can we create honesty pockets? Now, honesty pockets are small, honest conversations with yourself where you're telling yourself, I'm finding it tough right now. Because once you have that honest conversation with yourself and you tell yourself, I'm finding things tough right now, you can then have an honest conversation with somebody else. And you can say, do you know what? I'm not feeling great right now. And oftentimes, what you'll find is either the other person may be feeling the same way, or they've felt that way before, and actually they will understand and they can have space for it. But we have to have honest conversations with ourselves first. We have to have these honesty pockets with ourselves first before we can have it with other people. Because how many times have you wanted to have a conversation with someone, but you haven't got it clear in your head first? So when you talk to the person, it kind of comes out all jumbled. So have that honest conversation with yourself first, and then actually share how you're feeling with somebody. And number 4 here, on practical shifts you can make, is pace yourself for the long haul. You're a marathon runner, not a sprinter. I know you've heard that before. I just identify one thing that maybe you can delegate this month, or maybe one thing that you can drop off this month to actually help with your energy, especially at work. So one thing you can pass on to somebody else. Can you lighten the workload? Can you lean on your partner? Can you lean on a parent? Can you lean on a friend? What's one thing you can delegate or just release this month that's going to help you? Because once we do these things here, pressure stops feeling personal. Decisions feel clearer, and we start to recover without losing our edge. Because when it's strategical and when we're using it properly, that recovery actually keeps us sharper. Rather than thinking, oh, I can't stop, I can't stop, I can't stop. You can stop. And by stopping, it actually gives you more of an edge over people that don't stop. And this is then where long-term performance becomes sustainable, and it's not a fragile thing that actually, if left unattended, can cause you to burn out. So the real question to ask yourself is, are you coping, or are you just coping well? So have that honest conversation with yourself. Name where you're currently at And then ask yourself, what do I need? If you've taken any value from today's episode, don't forget to like it and maybe share it with somebody that you know struggles with burnout so that actually we can help spread the word and help as many people as possible. Until next time, take it easy.